I think on that front the government is being too selective in the advice that they are taking.
John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I greatly respect the previous speaker, but I have to say to him that the thought that you can increase tax and jobs in the same breath has best to be described as an oxymoron. And the point that he makes about jobs disappearing all over the countryside is actually not banked up, I think, by an ANZ Bank survey in the last week, which points out that in all regions of New Zealand, economic growth is strengthening. Mr. Speaker, the government believes it's really important to be an active participant in the international system, whether it's being an active member of multilateral organisations such as the United Nations, such as regional organisations like the Pacific Island Forums, or an economic organisation such as the IMF. And I would agree with the previous speaker that it is astonishing that the Green Party cannot support this very sensible piece of legislation which is in before the House this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, as a small open economy, we benefit considerably from a stable and prosperous global economy. Our commitments to the IMF are effectively premiums to an insurance policy against damage to our economy from an unstable world. Contributing to the IMF and the global financial stability are both part of our international obligations. Mr. Speaker, the net effect of this bill will be to move New Zealand's contributions to the IMF from about $2.9 billion to about $3 billion. The financial commitment associated with this quota was agreed at the time of the budget in 2011 and is in budget forecast to be paid out in the 2012-2013 financial year. For the benefit of listeners, I'd like to make the point that when New Zealand is asked to make a loan to the IMF to help fund its country programs, these loans, which receive interest and have definite payback periods, and therefore they're debt neutral. Some practical effects of the package of quota and governance reforms are, under the current quota system, China, the 10th largest shareholder of the IMF, despite being the second largest economy in terms of GDP, and the reforms will lift China's quota to be the 3rd largest in the IMF. Korea's quota share is half that of Australia, even though they're about the same size economically. Korea's quota will double under the reforms to be above that of Australia. There will be 4 emerging markets, Brazil, China, India and Russia, amongst the 10 largest shareholders in the IMF. Our constituency in the IMF, that's New Zealand's constituency in the IMF, will be able to take on a second alternate executive director, and New Zealand has a strong case to make for upgrading its current senior advisor secondment role to the IMF to this new position. Mr. Chair, this is an excellent bill. It has been considered by our select committee without any form of modification, and I commend it to the House. Thank you.
The question is...
Mr. Speaker.
Shane Jones.
Kia ora.
The Honourable.